What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another episode of New York Giants Full Access with the Big Blue Crew right here on the Big Blue Crew Sports Network. And we got a special guest tonight, Mr. Paul Dottino from WFAN. And we're going to talk about some training camp. We're just going to talk Giants, and we're going to have a good time talking Giants. So let's get into the intro, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to New York Giants Full Access with Big Pat Sports Talk, where you get the latest and realest Giants news and content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Want to talk your talk with Big Pat Sports Talk and become an official Big Blue Crew member? Hit the join button in the description. Want to look fly? Is some Big Pat Sports Talk merch? Head over to the Big Pat Sports Shop and grab you some gear. The link is in the description.
New York Giants Full Access, all Giants, all the time. All right, Giants fans. New York Giants Full Access is now live. Enjoy the show.
All right, fans, thank you guys for tuning in. Special guest tonight, Mr. Paul Dottino, and we're going to be talking about the New York Giants training camp day one, news and notes. Mr. Dottino, to start it off, is there anything special that you've seen on the field today, if you were there today? Because I think it's Fan Fest this week, right?
Yeah, well, there's day one is always pretty light. They're in helmets and shirts and shorts. They won't be in full pads doing real practices until Monday. So to be frank with you, anything that happens over the first few days is not very significant. The worst thing that could happen is somebody gets hurt. And as you guys know, Jermaine Illuminor, one of the Giants' starting 5 offensive linemen, took an elbow to the chest and the ribs earlier today and had to leave practice. But he has since put up on his Twitter accounts that everything's all good and he's fine. So, that was the one, quote, newsmaker of the day. And I guess if you wanted to throw a second newsmaker on there, but to those of us who know what's going on with the team, it's not really news because it's not a surprise. It was expected. Daniel Jones is fully cleared and fully healthy. And, if you got the chance to follow what was going on during the spring drills, you knew that he was way ahead of schedule. His rehab on his knee was going sensational. And so I'm not at all surprised that he's a full go at practice. For me, the only question about Daniel Jones that would become newsworthy is if he's going to get any preseason snaps. And I have my doubts as to if he'll get any preseason snaps or how many he'll get. I'm still not sure how I feel about that yet. But I fully expected him to be ready to practice during training camp, as he has said time and time again for the last 3 months. So I don't know if that qualifies as news because we kind of already knew it.
Okay. We told everybody that Daniel Jones is going to be ready by training camp.
You guys are smart. You know what you're talking about.
If you follow Daniel Jones and you see his work ethic, you know that guy, he's going to do everything that he can to get back out there on that field.
Yeah.
So I know there wasn't too much excitement in training camp today. Malik Neighbors dropped a deep pass, but he looks as advertised on the field. Daniel Jones actually looks like he's pretty spry. He looks like he still has his speed. He hasn't lost any of his speed or athleticism. What I want to ask you, and this is for Big Lou because he's the trenches guy of the Big Blue Crew. How do you feel about this Giants offensive line as a whole? Like, what are you thinking about this offensive line? Are you worried? I still have my concerns. You know, Evan Neal is on the pup. Illuminor went down, even though you take an elbow from Dexter Lawrence, I think all of us would have been down on the ground. To be honest with you. What are your do you have
it's funny, not to interrupt you, but it's funny. Somebody said to me, "Oh, it was elbow to the ribs from Dexter Lawrence." I said, "That's the point. It was Dexter Lawrence,
right?
That's the point."
It's ridiculous. You know that man's strength. But do you have any concerns about this offensive line moving forward, like the moving pieces and things like that? I just want you to talk about the offensive line a little bit for me.
I'm in show me phase, and that's as honest as I can be. I'm in show me phase. I know what Andrew Thomas is. I have no concerns. I think I know what JMS John Michael Schmitz is. Incredibly good with his smarts, incredibly good with his technique, but he's a bit undersized. And what was my mission for him during the offseason? Add some strength and add some power, okay? Size-wise, he's not going to bulk up much more than he is because his frame is his frame, okay? He's not going to be a large center. He's going to be what's known as an undersized center in this league. That's just what his frame is. So what does he have to do? He's got to win on his experience, all right? Now that he's been through the rookie growing pains, okay, he now has to take a step up in year 2. So that's, I need to see it. I think he can do it. I mean, we thought Weston Richburg was going to be a pretty good center.
Yeah, I did too.
And what happened? Weston Richburg was an undersized center who relied on smarts and technique and a high power quotient for his size. He wound up getting hurt. It absolutely impacted his attitude. And before you knew it, he turned out to be a negative instead of a positive and was out of here. So I'd like to believe that John Michael Schmitz, and I have every indication that he will be more like Sean O'Hara or Bart Oates than he will Weston Richburg.
Oh, man, if he could turn into a Bart Oates, Bart Oates was ridiculous.
Fellas, Bart Oates was an undersized center.
Mm-hmm.
And so was Sean O'Hara.
Sure was.
Okay? But what did those guys do? They were crafty. They were smart.
They were gritty.
They were very, very gritty and very, very sharp on their technique.
Smart, tough, dependable.
So I just gave you 3 guys besides JMS who he could follow in their footsteps. 2 of them turned out really well. 1 of them didn't. So let's hope that John Michael Schmitz turns out to be one of the other 2 guys. And I think you can be optimistic about it because he's got a great attitude, and a great work ethic. So I think he's going to wind up more like one of those other 2 guys than he will Weston Richburg.
Okay.
But I don't know that. I don't know that today. As far as Evan Neal is what I call, and I coined this phrase many years ago, he's a show me player. Because now in year 3, show me.
Yep.
Show me that you are as good as you're supposed to be. And until he's healthy enough to prove it, and until he then produces at a level that is requisite of his billing, I don't know. I think his billing is accurate. I agree with the Giants. When they drafted him, I was all over Evan Neal behind Ekwonu. Ike Ekwonu was my favorite offensive lineman in that draft. He hasn't turned out really good either. Okay? He hasn't turned out really good either. But Ekwonu was my favorite. Evan Neal was my second favorite offensive lineman in that draft. So I think the billing is there, but now he's got to live up to it. And in year number 3, he is now a show me player. Show me that you are what you're supposed to be. All right, that's two of the linemen who are in that phase. John Runyon, Jermaine Illuminor. I told people on Big Blue Kickoff Live, which is the daily show that I'm a part of the rotating host roster with on Giants.com. I told people then that there were 3 offensive linemen the Giants needed to look at in free agency. I said they need to look at Van Roten, Illuminor, and Hunt. Well, it turned out, and Illuminor was my top target, they went and they got Illuminor. I believe in him. I believe in him strongly, not just because I think he's a versatile and solid and steady player, but because of Carmen Brasillo. Yep. I'm very tight with Antonio Pierce. Okay? That should not surprise you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing AP as I do, and knowing that he recommended Brasillo to the Giants. And
I didn't know that.
Wow, you guys didn't know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he did. AP recommended Brasillo to the Giants. See, what happened was AP got himself a new offensive coordinator with the Raiders. And offensive coordinators are usually attached at the hip to the offensive line coach because
that's why
they
Bobby
need
Johnson
to get
came
their,
with Dable,
yeah, they need to get their running game and their pass protections in sync. So Pierce is a Brasillo guy. And so when he named his offensive coordinator and his offensive coordinator said, look, I'm bringing my guy in to coach the offensive line, AP was like, uh-oh. So Brasillo's really a great dude, but I got to give my OC his offensive line guy. So he recommended Brasillo to the Giants.
Gotcha.
Okay? This is why you guys talk to me, because you want the truth.
Got schooled.
Yeah, I want the truth. That's some very good information right there. AP is still a Giant at heart. Okay.
Oh, sure he is. Sure he is. So
Giant always a Giant.
So knowing the references for Brasillo and obviously learning his craft under Dante Scarnecchia, who is the great offensive line guru from the past of the New England Patriots, I have tremendous faith in Brasillo. And knowing how he was a huge Illuminor guy from their days in New England and then brought him to Vegas, or we worked with him in Vegas, I was like, you got to get Illuminor. He was my number one target on the offensive line.
Let me translate that for the English impaired. That means the Giants' offensive line will now be able to pick up stunts and twists, is what you're telling me.
In theory, yes.
So go ahead.
So I have a lot of confidence that Illuminor will give the Giants what they paid for. Okay? I don't think he's a show-me player, because I think I know enough about him, his coach, and his past to say that he's going to be solid. John Runyon, with the Packers, he was more of a technique guy, again, a little bit undersized, and was a much better pass protector than he was a run blocker. So I'm a little curious as to how well he's going to do in the run game. But I do believe, and all you need to know is that Aaron Rodgers advocated for him with the Jets. As the Jets got into the free agent market, they wanted him for Aaron Rodgers. Well, if a 40-plus-year-old quarterback coming off of a year of injured reserve wants that guy to help protect his pocket, doesn't that tell you all you need to know about his pass protection?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in Runyon's pass pro. I'm not as sold on his run blocking because, again, he's undersized.
Well, that's the thing that I believe you're not going to see much running from the Giants this year.
I think you're right. I think they're going to use the pass to set up the run.
And passes out the backfield as part of their run game and the quick passes. Yep.
Absolutely.
So here's what I think about that, P. Dot. I don't think they're going to run the ball much, but I think they're going to get Wan'Dale Robinson a lot of touches this year in the screen game and the quick game.
And Neighbors.
Basically, and Neighbors as well.
Yep.
Lou, you got any questions for P Dot, and then we're gonna get to unpopular opinion sports for questions.
Did that answer everything you had for the first
Oh
question?
man, answered everything.
Okay.
No. I mean, I'm like he said, I'm the trenches guy. I'm the guy that's been beating the dead horse about this offensive line for a decade. To me, it did Eli a disservice his last couple seasons to the point where they was getting to him so fast he was spiking the ball down to avoid getting sacked. So I've been harping about the O-line for a while. I love that Joe Schoen has addressed it and has, thrown players at it and money at it to try to revamp it and get it fixed. And my thing is if we can get this offensive line to play 19th out of the 32 teams, if they're ranked 19th, 15th to 19th overall offensive line, I believe we can make some real noise with the passing weapons, the quick guys, Neighbors, Hyatt, Robinson, and Theo Johnson, Bellinger, Cager. I think that DJ looks good. He looks healthy. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's heard all the stuff people are saying about him on Twitter and on the news and everything else. I'm sure, although he's silent and stoic, he doesn't show a lot of emotion. I'm sure that the competitor in him wants to come out here and shut the naysayers up. So I believe it's going to be the greatest show on turf, Big Blue edition. That's what I've been screaming all off season. I told everybody we was going to get Neighbors in the draft. All three of us right here did. And we believe that this is DJ's year to show me, like you said, with some of the guys on the offensive line. It's we got you some protection, hopefully in the pass pro. We got you some weapons. So come out here and light it up.
Yeah, well, I've always been the one host on Big Blue Kickoff who has always advocated the offensive line because football 101 is built in the trenches. I mean, go back to the days. I'll never forget, I was telling the press room many years ago when Jack Conklin came out and he was drafted by the Titans. You remember?
Titans, yeah.
And I remember telling everybody, this is the guy the Giants need to draft because they needed to start rebuilding that offensive line back then. And he was the guy that I wanted. And all the writers in the press room. What's that?
What draft was that?
That's got to be going back a good 10 years ago. Easy.
I know.
Yeah, I think that was like the 2013 or 14 draft.
And I remember I was the only one in the press room besides Vinny Detrani of the Bergen Record who thought that was the right move for them. Because, a lot of these writers, they just kind of go with the wind and the flow. And they didn't understand the game. And they were like, they got to get a receiver, or they got to get a running back, or what. Nobody. They all looked at me like, I remember. I won't say who. He goes, "What are you, crazy? Why would they draft an offensive lineman with the first pick in the draft?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me, man? Are you serious?" I felt like telling the guy he should go back to covering another sport because he obviously doesn't understand football.
He was drafted in 2016, but yeah,
there you go.
We advocate for the offensive line. I know a lot of people think I'm crazy on Twitter. I know you talked about the Twitter people, but I keep trying to tell people that the offensive line is probably the most important part of your team because it allows you to do everything that you need to do and want to do on offense. And it actually helps out your defense as well because if you're able to keep moving those chains and take time off the clock, they're getting rest and they're ready to go back out there and get it again.
Fellas, the only thing I will say, and I I learned this from Parcells years ago. Now, of course, it was different because he had the Suburbanites and they were very good. We know that. I mean, they won 2 championships for him. And even Coughlin's lines, they were good enough to win 2 championships. But what it comes down to is your offensive line, and I use this word all the time, it has to be functional. That's the minimum requirement. It must be functional. Your weakest link on your offensive line cannot be an Achilles heel. He can be a bruise, but he can't be an Achilles heel. And the reason is, by definition, a functional offensive line means that you can use your entire playbook at any time during the game, and you don't have to be afraid to call a particular play. When your line is not functional, when you have holes in your line, when you have an Achilles heel in your line, basically that means your offensive coordinator is going to have to take certain pages and chapters out of his playbook and say, you know what? We can't run these because we don't have functional players capable of succeeding on that play. It's not simple, fellas. It's really not hard.
And when you have to put an extra tight end to help out, don't mean to harp on Evan Neal, but when you have to put an extra tight end to help out on Evan Neal and chip on every play, that's taking somebody away from the weapons that you could put on the field. So now you only have 3 weapons to go against 7 in coverage because they're still getting in there like it's a blitz with only 4, and you actually got 6 people blocking. And so,
look, any defensive coordinator will tell you if they know you have a hole. Parcells used to call it the weakest link on your line. Your weakest link can't be broken. Okay? If your weakest link is broken, the defensive coordinator will salivate and will attack that weakest link at every key moment of the game. Not to mention, to be perfectly frank with you, many times, if you have a weakest link, it's also telegraphing your plays. Because defensive coordinators are studying and they know, guess what? They can't use chapters 5 and 6 out of their playbook because that guy can't run the play.
Exactly.
Paul, I got a question for you. What do you feel? How do you feel about Josh Ezeudu now? Because looking at the tackle depth now, you know, at that Evan Neal was hurt. I mean, it looks like he's going to be the backup tackle, you know, until Neal gets healthy. How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable with them using Illuminor at tackle, at the tackle spot? Or do you think they feel like they need to go out and get more depth there?
Well, if you look, Matt Nelson was also signed as a swing tackle from the Detroit Lions. And I've been saying on the show, I don't think they should just give him that third tackle spot. I think Illuminor is best suited to be the third tackle. Of course, if you have to move him out there, which is what the Giants have said they would have to plan to do, that now opens up another spot because now you have to fill his left guard spot. And we know Aaron Stinney, according to what Shane and Dable said today, he's next up at left guard. I hate when that happens because it's now 2 spots in one swing of the bat that have to be changed. No coach really wants to do that, but sometimes out of necessity, you're forced to do it. To your question about Ezeudu came out of school a year too early, okay? When he was at North Carolina, he was utilized at 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. There were times that he actually played multiple positions within the same game. I think that hindered his development while he was in college because he was one of those guys who could play a bunch of positions but was a master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah,
I think it was a detriment to him. Now, I had an independent scout talk to me when he had scouted Ezeudu. And he said to me, if that kid stays in school for another year and is allowed to just play guard for 1 more year in school, and they let him polish up his skills in one spot, he'll be a 2nd-round draft choice. He's that good, okay? He's got athleticism. His feet are really good.
Yep, I always say quick feet.
He's got a boxcar a frame. So there's a lot to like with Ezeudu, skill set wise. But the problem was he never was able to polish up one position because the line at North Carolina was not very good. So they plugged him all everywhere.
I'm a Carolina fan. Yeah, I know.
You know. You know. Okay. So he gets to the Giants. He comes out a year early because of 2 reasons. Number one, he was of the belief that if he stayed at North Carolina, they would keep bouncing him around out of necessity because the line was not going to be very good had he stayed the following season. Can you confirm that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's the first reason he came out early. The second reason was obviously the lure of a nice pro paycheck. So the Giants take him in the 3rd round, which is a very nice, respectable round, obviously. and he gets a nice paycheck, and he comes in, and he's raw. Okay, he's raw, and what happens? He gets nicked up. He gets forced into again being a versatile, fix-it, jack of all trades kind of guy. I mean, we even saw him play some left tackle last year.
Yep, in the Cardinals game.
That was not good
why?
either.
All right, okay, but he wasn't prepared for that. He really wasn't. He was he is such a good kid. He loves to be a good teammate. He will do anything to help the team. And so for the good of the team, he did everything they asked. And even if it was to his own career detriment, he played anywhere and any place they asked him to play at any time, even though he wasn't fully prepared.
To his own detriment. Yeah.
Okay? So I look at that guy and I say to myself, wow, I really hope that A, he's healthy. Okay, number one, I hope that he's fully healthy. And B, they can focus on one spot. And at this point, it seems like they want to focus on making him a swing tackle. As opposed to a guard. Well, fine. If that's what they're going to do, I applaud Coach Priscillo for trying to narrow his focus so that they can polish him up and make him prepared.
Keep him there so he can get the reps and get the technique and everything down.
Exactly. Now, I personally believe he would be a better guard myself. I personally believe that.
Yeah, I agree.
But having said that, if Coach Priscillo thinks that they can make him a really good tackle, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
So that goes to what NYG has been saying for the past 2 years. He's always said that he doesn't like the way that we switch guards to tackles and tackles to guards, not out of necessity, just because they want to do it, just because they want everybody to be versatile. Do you think that has been one of the major issues why this offensive line hasn't got to the level that they need to be just to be competent? Do you think the switching of the guard to right guard or the guard to center or like a Zudu from guard to tackle, do you think that's hindering the whole offensive line, not just a Zudu?
Well, the short answer to that is yes, but there's reasons behind it. One of the reasons is the players have not performed at a competent level at the position that they were supposed to be. So what happens? You try him at another position to see if he can do any better there. The other reason is, and I don't have the stats to back it up, but I think you guys would probably agree with me when I tell you that over the last 6 or 7 years, the Giants have had one of the more banged up and injured offensive lines in the National Football League.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so what does that force you to do? It forces you to jumble guys around. So, again, I agree with your premise, but I also think there are logical reasons why they were backed into a corner.
I definitely agree with that. That's some of the things that we talk about on with the Big Blue Crew too. The injuries, man, have been killing us. Like today, we got an injury scare with Aluminor, and that would have been horrible because Neil is already out.
But not only that, with the whole, we've been pounding the table with this for years too. The whole team can actually say this. 3 regime changes in 4 years, 5 years. So, then you got draft picks from 3 different regimes jumbled on one team who, they were drafted for this scheme or for that scheme or for that scheme. And you got them all on one team trying to play your scheme now. So, you got a lot to add with the injuries as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, it goes back to guys like Will Beatty. It goes back to Richburg. It goes back to, remember David Boss, the center they signed from the 49ers. Yeah. And he got hurt. And then Kevin Booth had to go in and play center and help them win a Super Bowl. I mean, the offensive line on this franchise has been snake bitten to such a degree that it's absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, they've had guys retire on them, too. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's true.
And then retire. So, I mean, that's why I will tell you, I get that the fans are frustrated and disgusted that the line has never truly been fixed. But I say to people all the time, you can make that statement because it's true, but you can't make the statement that they haven't tried.
Mm-hmm.
Almost
And that's
every
what we be
single
talking about.
year, they address it. And you know what happens? Now, they didn't draft anybody this year, but they brought in free agents.
Yep.
I mean, they've addressed the line every year. They address the line. And so you can't tell me it's for lack of effort.
Right.
Thanks. Well, I got an actual coach on the Big Blue Crew team, Mr. Coach Ed. What's going on, Mr. Coach Ed? You got any questions for P-Dot while you're here?
Yeah,
What
I
questions you got?
appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on. Mr. Dottino, I think, well, my question deals with patience because I'm old school. You know, I go all the way back to the 70s, you know, so is the lack of patience also a contributing factor? I get injuries, I understand that, but we go as old school offensive linemen is probably it takes the most to really develop along with quarterback, and it takes time because of the physical play and the physical development. So could patience also be a contributing factor? Because like you said, you're throwing a lot of the young guys to the wolves in a sense, and you're not really developing them the way you could or what we're able to in the past. So could that patience be a factor?
Well, here's the problem. As you're going through the season and you're in the middle of a season and guys get hurt or guys are not living up to their potential, there's an immediate sense of urgency because we know when the offensive line is not performing at a functional level, it basically is akin to a disaster for your football team. So what happens? Coaches immediately figure, well, we got to find a fix for this right away. How can we plug the hole in the dam? How can we stop the water from coming downhill and flooding the town? So what do? They immediately start moving pieces around to try to find something that will stop the water. Mm-hmm. So I get it. To some degree, you're right. Would you like to have more patience with every one of these guys and polish them up and develop them like you'd really want to? But it becomes incredibly difficult under the circumstances that have beset this franchise for years. And of course, that's only a legitimate logistical reason based on the circumstances that the Giants have faced. There's a bigger philosophical reason here. I remember Carl Nelson, who was, as you guys know, one of the suburbanites, was on the broadcast team with me. And Carl used to say to me all the time, you need a minimum of a couple of years together as a starting five offensive line before you can really gel properly. It's going to be till that third year till your guys are really tight-knit, unified, and ready to go kick butt. Well, how are you supposed to do that in today's world with free agency and salary caps? Look, fellas, again, I don't know how long you've been listening to me on Big Blue Kickoff. I've been anti-salary cap and the free agency system ever since it was implemented. I don't like it. It destroys the fabric of your team. Coaches and general managers, I guarantee you, if they could do away with it, they would.
Yep.
But from a business perspective, this is how the league survives and thrives and how the players, get maximum value for their wares. I understand that, but I happen to be a lover of the game. And if you love the X's and the O's and the fabric of what is going on the field, you understand that the salary cap and free agency basically throws acid in the face of the game and does everything it can to disintegrate the unity and the hard work that coaches want to do on a daily basis to form that bond so that they can grow and mature together and have a single solid unit, especially on the offensive line. I'm sure you guys understand that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And that's some of the things that I've been speaking on in terms of the offensive line, because it does take time, and I get fans just like you where, they want the immediate fix. And I've always said, it takes time to play offensive line, to gel, to know what your partner is going to do, because there is a silence to playing the offensive line sometimes where you know what the stunts, what's going to happen, what type of twist, how to read. You play with your partner, you're going to watch film and you're going to say, look, when he's shaded in this type of attack, in this down and distance, this team is going to tend to do this. They're going to run this twist. They're going to send this type of a blitz. We need to have our eyes at the second level, along with feeling the first level, to be able to pick up these stunts, these twists, and these blitzes. And that takes time, and that takes working together. And you can't do it within 1 year, because I've said it. The guys will tell you. I've said I see talent in Evan Neal. It just takes time. It really takes the time to play the position. And, in today's game, you're right. It's just not there.
And Coach, here's the other thing too. For all the reasons we've already discussed, you have a jigsaw puzzle and a revolving door at the different positions on the line. Well, what do you think that's done to Evan Neal? Again, he's had injuries. He hasn't been able to even practice at the level he has needed to develop and mature his skills. But on top of that, how many right guards has he had to play with since he got to this league?
About 4 or 5.
So where's the continuity? I mean, think of all of the hand grenades that have been thrown at this offensive line over the years, preventing it from becoming functional. And year after year, the Giants address it. They try to retool it. You asked me before about how do I feel about the line. And I went through each one of the starting 5 guys individually, because that's all I can do. Because this other issue of the 5-man unit is another inherent problem that we have in today's game. And I can't even begin to speak about that because there's no way to fix that.
Yeah, it's the continuity between you and the person next to you, like picking up stunts. If you've been playing together,
trust him and know that he's going to be where he needs to be, so you can focus on your assignment.
Yeah, if you're playing with a different person every other game, you're not going to be able to build that relationship with that guy. Okay, we see this, we know what we're going to do at this point. Speaking of like your right guard and your right tackle, or your left guard and your left tackle, the center, he's the captain of the line. He has to know where the blitzes are coming from. Sometimes he calls out the mic. Yeah, sometimes he calls the shifts. If they want him to have that ability, like a Jeff Saturday was, he called out the line shifts, and Kelsey, he called out the line shifts for the Eagles. But that is absolutely true when you really think about it. These guys rarely ever play together for multiple games. Like the Eagles line, they've played 16 to 17 game seasons for the last 3 years. They know each other. They know each other's movements. They know, hey, if they do this, me and you gonna do this. And Kelsey's, you know what he gonna do. And then it is bad, man. And it's like a new offensive line every year, and that's not good. That's how you get messed up. Look at the Cowboys. They've had solid lines for the past 20 years. Since the Emmitt Smith days, to be honest with you.
It's virtually impossible. And the Bengals got to the Super Bowl a few years ago with what was one of the worst lines in football. And I will tell you, Giants played Cincinnati a couple of years back at a preseason game. And I went up to one of the coaches and I said, you guys totally burned the book of pro football. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, your offensive line was one of the worst in the game, and you still got to the Super Bowl. I said, that's like lightning in a bottle. He goes, no, it's not. That's Joe Burrow.
Okay. That's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Uzama. Yeah.
Here's the other factor.
Sometimes they're just these aberrations that go against the book. But the book 9 times out of 10 is going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I always preach about the offensive line and its importance is it's to me the heart and soul of the whole team because it also helps the defense. Because if you have a functional, a good, a offensive line, it also allows your defense to rest. It keeps offensive drives going. You know, whether it's a quick strike or you're a 10-play series moving down the field. You know, defenses 3 and out and you're back out there, 3 and out and you're back out there.
Yep.
It wears on your defense. So an offensive line is, and I understand we're in a day and age where everyone says the quarterback is the most important position. You know, to me, it's old school. It's the offensive line because without the offensive line, quarterback can't do his job, receivers can't do their job, running backs can't do their job, and the defense cannot do their job because they're out there too often.
Yeah. No, the offensive line is the one unit in the game. It's the unit. I'm not talking about the quarterback. We all know the quarterback has the ball the most, right? So everybody says he's got the ball in his hands on most of the plays. So that's going to be the guy who has the biggest impact on the game. Okay, fine. That's a different position. It's totally unique. The unit that has the most control over the narrative and the tempo and the context of the game is the offensive line. It will never change. That's it. It all spider webs off the offensive line. Everything in one way or another. They say what the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It all goes back to the offensive line, not Kevin Bacon. Okay, it goes back to the line. And the Giants line was functional in 2022. Oh wow! By coincidence, they made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, thanks. That's what we've been saying. But hey, NYG, before you get your next question in, what's going on, Miz? Miz had a question for you. Part of the Big Blue Crew, Miz, midday. Check him out. Miz, what's your question, man?
How are you, Paul? I appreciate what you do for this fan base, man.
Thank you.
My question, you might have gone over it. I got here late. Forgive me for that. But Evan Neal is a guy that a lot of the fans are twisted on. I'm a big believer in Evan Neal. The night we drafted him, I was ecstatic. I don't believe the guy forgot how to play football, and I'm a person. Maybe I'm one of the few that still believes he's going to matter very much. I wanted to know what you think. I just think that in today's day and age, a lot of the young generation doesn't have patience anymore. Sometimes it can take 4 or 5 years. I mean, I would not give up on a guy.
Well, here's what I will say about Neal. And Joe Schoen was right today when he told the media at the press conference that, you know, Neal's still coming off the ankle. He said, we think he's close, but he's coming off the ankle surgery. Until they get him on the field, and Carmen Brasillo, who I believe was the most important offensive line acquisition of the offseason, okay? More important than any of the players is Carmen Brasillo. Again, I have such belief in him based on the references and his resume. Until Brasillo can get his hands on him on the field, I truly don't know what to expect. He's got to get healthy. He's got to get on the field. Brasillo's got to work with him. And we're going to take it from there because we don't know right now, based on the variety of injuries that Neal has had since he got to the Giants, what he may or may not be capable of doing at this stage of his career, only 3 years into the league. And that's the most honest answer I can give you.
That's a very honest answer. I've been on record saying that you got to give Evan Neal his shot because you invested so much into him. He was the number 7 overall pick in that draft, and you've invested a lot. If he can turn out to be the tackle that we believe that he can be, him and Andrew Thomas as the bookends and pillars of this offensive line, that helps out tremendously. But
no question. The upside, the value of him, if he works out and pans out, is immense. It's huge. The payoff is massive if he works out.
Have 2 bookend tackles on either side. That would be great. But how long?
That's why you have. That's why this year you got to do everything you can to get him on the field and to get Brasillo to bring out whatever it is that he's got in his body. He's got to max out whatever Neal has to offer and get that in the lineup so that we can actually see, is he the payoff or is he not? It's I can't explain it any other way. I'll give you a great example, right? Eric Flowers, who was also a very high first-round draft pick, okay, suffered injuries and had a horrible attitude. Horrible attitude. And that derailed his time with the Giants. Simply put, the Giants at one point asked him if he would try to play guard. They tried to salvage that pick and see if he would move inside, and he refused. And it was only after they got rid of him that he was willing to, understanding that his NFL career was hanging by a piece of tooth floss, dental floss, did he agree to play guard for Washington.
All right, man, you're getting exclusives here tonight with P-Dot because everybody was asking that question. Why didn't the Giants move him to guard? Now you got the answer. He refused.
He refused. He said, "I'm not a guard. I'm a tackle."
Didn't Evan Neal come out saying that he wouldn't play? That he didn't want to play guard as well?
He has said when the writers questioned him, he said, "I'm a tackle," and I understand that because I think there's a certain amount of pride that every player has when he comes into the league. He's a professional. He's paid well. He is put on a certain pedestal, and quite frankly, most of the scribes who cover this game have never played the game, haven't studied the game, and don't truly understand what it takes. Yep. I mean, to be honest, I think there should be a much higher prerequisite for people who cover this game, because it takes a tremendous amount of knowledge and understanding and judgment. Yep. And, I mean, let's be serious. If you're an electrician by trade and somebody who knows nothing about electricity comes and says to you, "Don't you think you should wire that lamp another way?" What are you saying?
That's crazy, Paul, because I was just on a job and they gave me some diagrams, some electrical diagrams, and I was like, "This looks like Chinese to me. I don't know what I'm looking at here. I need to call an electrician." That's funny you said that.
And they call us crazy when we say things like that over here because they love calling us homers and old school guys because we like to see the Giants run the ball because I think that's when we are at our best, when we're able to get a running game going and use the play action.
Don't get me started.
They call us old and not with the time.
I get the same thing too. All right. The only thing I will say, and I appreciate your sentiments, I really do, because I'm coming from the same part of the reservation. Okay. What it comes down to is this: you have fans who are frustrated and they've been scarred for the better part of a decade, and they're disgusted, and they're upset, and they're angry, and they're impatient, and it's hard for them to ignore the scars. Even though Joe Schoen and Brian Dable have only been here now for 2+ years. So unfortunately, a lot of that residue from the previous years falls on these guys. And they're taking a lot more heat from some of the fan base than they deserve, obviously.
It's like a bad relationship, and you jump into a new relationship without fixing your own feelings and your own shit. And then you bring that into the new one and mess it all up.
Sure, that's a great point. So I understand that, right? I do, and it's a shame, but I know where those fans' frustrations are coming from. I get it. I see it. I understand it. I'm trying to help them with it, but a lot of them just want to be angry. And then, of course, you got the other problem. As I said before, you don't have a requisite standard of knowledge amongst the scribes who cover the team. And so, they're trying to survive in their job, and it's very easy to kick a dead horse. It's very easy to continue to pile on when things aren't going well. And if you haven't covered the game for a long time, and if you haven't studied the game and don't truly understand how the game works and what it takes, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to be delivering shallow information to the fans, which is going to do nothing but feed into their anger and frustration.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. We got another member of the Big Blue Crew in the building. I think you've seen him. He's been in the building asking questions. We got Alex, aka Big Blue in the Bronx.
And you asked
Alex,
yesterday if we had any little people in the crew.
Right. Here's the little guy. What's going on, Alex? What you got for P-Dot?
No, I don't really got much of anything. I mean, I was there today, so I was able to see what's what. I mean, my takeaways were they were basically doing install, swing passes, stuff like that. I was actually more intrigued to see what the lineups looked like with certain position battles. Trey Herndon and Allen Robinson with the third team. But I mean, I just wanted to come on and show my presence, and of course, say hi to everybody on the panel. So you guys take it away. I just wanted to say what's up.
Established dominance.
He came in and did a hi, guy.
Fellas, I'm glad he mentioned that, though, because the lineup stuff is completely and totally useless at this point of training camp. And I love how so many people stand on the sidelines and they got their little checklists out and they're writing who's playing who and who's with what edition of the lineup. And this guy's with first team, this guy's with second team, this guy's with third team. Brian Daboll, during training camp, swaps out probably as much as any coach I've ever seen during his practice sessions in terms of swapping out guys who practice with first team or second team or third team. He does an awful lot of that. And part of the reason is, as he explains, is that when there are injuries and I have to elevate somebody on the depth chart, I don't want them having to wear a name tag when they play with their new teammates on the first team unit. Okay? That's the rationale behind it. And so I understand that there are people who are so impatient and so anxious. They want to know who the starting lineup is going to be week 1 against Minnesota. And they want that tonight. Okay?
Right.
They want that tonight. They want to know who the nickel is.
Era.
Right. They want to know who the nickel is. They want to know who the dime is. They want to know who the fourth receiver is going to be. They want to know who's the gunner on the kick returns. They want that now, which, of course, is blatantly absurd. And part of the reason why the coaches have to consistently turn guys over while they're giving them reps during training camp, it's not just to see who's got the goods. It's to give guys a chance to prove that they don't have the goods.
Yep.
Sometimes they'll elevate a guy and give him some second or first team reps to let him go out there and prove that he can't do it so that they know he's going to be one of those first cuts. Well, in this case, there's only one cut now, obviously. It's changed over the years. But that's the other thing that I laugh at. So many guys will write during the course of a practice, oh, so-and-so got elevated to second team, so he must be moving up on the depth chart. No. It's because he hasn't done much. They wanted to give him a chance to prove that he doesn't belong on the team.
Because if you, like I always say, that guy is terrible. And we're going to find out that he is terrible when we put him in there against some of our top guys to show that he can't do it.
There you go. Exactly. Okay. You guys get it. Get it. It's a shame that you're not in the press room and you can't educate some of these people.
Tell them to watch our channel.
Hey, we're trying to get
I want to
there.
ask one question of
look, I came in under Bill Parcells and George Young, okay? and Bill Belichick. I had quite an education, okay?
Go ahead, Miz.
Paul, serious question right now. I'm going to say a name and I want you to talk about him. Daniel Jones.
What do you want to know?
I want to know what you know. I want you to give me You have a half a fan base here that hates Daniel Jones so much. You have fans that hate Daniel Jones so much that they're going into the season rooting to win one win this year. Okay?
Yeah, it's pretty
negative fan
twisted, right? Pretty twisted logic.
It's a mess. So basically, I want to know what
Okay.
you feel
All right.
about Daniel Jones.
All right.
What is Daniel Jones? Can he be the guy for a long time?
Daniel Jones, first of all, he is so much, everything they've said in the past about him being so much like Eli is true. Tremendous work ethic, first guy in the building, last guy out, always there. I mean, I think he took 1 week vacation during the offseason and then took another week where he took 14 of his offensive players in his own passing camp down to North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Okay? Other than that, he has done nothing but bust his butt at the complex. So he is a tireless worker. He is a very smart individual, has an eagerness to learn and an eagerness to get better. He has built himself up. You guys, if you saw any of the video today or if you were out there today, you would have seen what I've seen all spring. He has absolutely added definition to his upper torso and body. He has added some muscle and some beef. He looks incredible. And his mobility, he is so far ahead of schedule. That's why I'm not surprised at what he was able to do today. Because physically, he's got all the tools. And we know that he's got a lot of the intangibles. So I give you that. Back in 2022, when he had a functional offensive line, obviously Saquon Barkley was there, and I don't for any stretch of the imagination underplay Barkley. Although Barkley was banged up in 2022, he did enough to gain 1,000 yards. Okay, so that was certainly important. But let's not forget, functional offensive line, a banged up Barkley, and a wide receiving core that Slayton was not typical Slayton for the whole season. And it wasn't until Isaiah Hodgins came in and had a final good couple of months that he really had a go-to receiver. I mean, think about it. Richie James caught 57 passes that season.
We had the slowest wide receiver group. Yep.
Richie James led the wide receiver room with 57 catches. Richie James probably could not make the team this year with the wide receivers that are in that room.
Right.
Okay? So you tell me, Daniel Jones had 5 regular season, fourth quarter come from behind victories, and then he had one in the Minnesota playoff game on the road. Okay? Look what he did with a subpar Barkley, just a functional line, and a subpar wide receivers room. Look what he did.
Right.
I defy anybody with common sense and logic to tell me that he's not good enough to win games in this league.
That's
Good
absolute fact.
luck finding common sense out there these days.
Oh, well, because Twitter, let's face it, Twitter was an alien creation designed to destroy the minds of the human race.
Exactly.
Hey, that's an absolute fact, though.
I wanted to ask my question about the greatest show on turf, Big Blue version. Now, with the addition of Theo Johnson and Cager being on the tight end room, I believe the guy that's being unnoticed is Bellinger. Now, you have Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, possibly Slayton. You got 5 guys fighting for one more wide receiver spot, I believe. I believe with Slayton and Bellinger having the most familiarity with Daniel Jones at this point, actually playing in games with him and having chemistry with him, they might be somewhat of his security blanket. And if this O-line struggles in the first couple of weeks, they might continue to be just that. And Bellinger might end up blossoming into a very good tight end, catching tight end. We all know he can block, but he's had some flashes where he's shown that he can catch and run and make some big splash plays for us. So I believe Bellinger is going to be very effective in them short situations where the line breaks up or Daniel Jones has to scramble and find a receiver, because I don't expect him to do too much running this year. What do you think?
Let me give you a two-part answer. I've said since he got here, Jake Bellinger, Daniel Bellinger for me is Jake Ballard 2.0.
Okay.
I think he's Jake Ballard. Okay. Who, by the way, was a solid player.
Good tight end, yeah.
Solid player. So that's who I think he is. I have some trouble though with the rest of what you were saying, because number one, Daniel Bellinger was very inconsistent in his second season. He's got to pick it up in year 3. Last year, he got flagged for 6 penalties, which is far too much. Last year, he was inconsistent with his blocking and had too many missed assignments. That can't happen. He's got to be better. So that's got to be cleaned up if he's going to be the player that I think he can be. The other issue is that if the Giants' offensive line isn't very good, you're suggesting Bellinger can be the security blanket. I'm telling you, he's going to have to stay in and block more. So how can he be the security blanket if they need him to be the 6th blocker?
That's a fact. That's why I always say this offensive line is key, because it takes away from what you can do on the field. You can't put your weapons in place that you want them to be in place. But
So what's going to happen is, if the line isn't very good and Bellinger has to be the 6th blocker, then you're going to get, and we love how the critics do this. They even did it to Eli. You get the old check down game to the running back out of the backfield. Well, when that becomes about the only play that your offense can run, because it's got so many cracks in the dam, what else are you supposed to do?
What Eli did, throw the ball directly to the ground and give Barkley 90 catches. But
I got a question about
it's amazing. Well, again, it's like the blind leading the blind. You got the poor fans reading all this crap. What are they supposed to think?
Hey, Peanut might be secretly with the Big Blue Crew too.
Thank you. I've been saying that.
What I love about it is that you guys have a clue. It's a pleasure to talk to people who understand and who have at least put some time and thought into it.
Right. Go ahead, NYG.
No, I wanted to shout out to Paul, man. Appreciate you joining the show.
No problem.
I wanted to talk though about because this is a phase of the game not a lot of people talk about, and it's going to be an important phase of the game this year, and that's special teams. With the new rules, and given that the Giants hired a new special team coach, do you think they've put enough emphasis on that phase of the football? And how do you see them employing their returners? Because from what I understand, you can use different formations on the kickoffs and different things like that now. I think you can use 2 returners, not just one. So it's going to be interesting to see. But how do you see things shaking out with the special teams unit this year?
Well, first of all, you could always use 2 returners. Back in the 70s, teams constantly used 2 kickoff returners back there. So that's nothing new, and there's never been a rule against it. But a lot of special teams coaches believe you'll need to, because there's going to be a lot of directional kickoffs. At least that's the anticipation because of the changes. So if there's going to be directional kickoffs, you're going to need 2 guys to be able to cover the width of the field. So that's where that's coming from. There's an expectation based on what a lot of the special teams coordinators saw with the XFL, that with the new formation, the guys best suited to return kickoffs will be running backs because of their explosiveness, their vision, their power and ability to break some tackles, and their physicality. That's the skill set of the running back. It seems to lend itself to what you're going to have, because remember, because of the new formations, the amount of density of players coming down the field at a different speed than they used to is going to be far different than what we saw under the usual kickoff rules.
Yep.
Okay, so that's why the anticipation is of running backs. To me, that's one of the reasons they brought in Miller. Miller was brought in because Dante Miller has that kind of skill. I think Tracy certainly has the kind of skills that could potentially make him a good kickoff return guy. Those are just two guys off the bat who right now are deep on the depth chart. But during the course of the camp, we may see that maybe one or two of those guys, turn out to be really good kickoff return guys, and maybe they steal a spot on the 53.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think that would lead them to carry an extra running back, being as the importance of the special teams now?
Oh, I think it's absolutely possible. But here's the thing again, fellas. We got to keep going back to the 53 because you're going to have injuries at camp. And when you have injuries at one position, now you got to steal from another position that's healthy. So I think they're going to keep 6 receivers on the 53. Okay?
Yep.
They may want to keep 3 quarterbacks. They may. I don't think Tommy DeVito gets through waivers.
No,
if they put him on the practice squad, he's going to get taken. So do you keep Tommy DeVito worried that what if Daniel doesn't hold up? Do you want to go into a game with Drew Lock and Mr. X? Or would you rather go in with Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito?
Yeah.
So
that's
you gotta think about keeping a third quarterback. You got to think about keeping an extra running back. You got to think about how many receivers are we going to keep? If we're going to be a pass-first offense,
you keep 7.
The run, do you keep 7 receivers instead of 6?
Your offensive line.
What? Yeah. Okay. Evan Neal. Let's say Evan Neal continues to be gimpy the entire camp. Now you got to keep an extra lineman. Where are you going to get these spots from, guys? So in answer to that part of the question, I don't have one. Health is going to dictate a lot of that. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In terms of do the Giants spend enough time on specials? Yeah. Actually, I was a Thomas McGahee fan. Okay. But again, when your team is hurting and you've got a lot of guys banged up, what unit does that affect the most? Special teams.
Specials.
I still see the Giants.
Backups have to play starter now.
There you go.
Now you have to reach to get backups off the waiver wire.
Exactly.
I still believe that Joe Schoen isn't done. And when all the final cuts are done and people are put on practice squads, he's going to start plucking players and dropping players that we have on our 53. Don't be surprised if there's 2 or 3 guys we grab after the cuts and we replace 3 or 4 of our guys.
Let's see. I'll say this, okay? If Graham Gano, and by all accounts, he's fine. All right. By all accounts, he's fine. He's as good a kicker as there is in the league. I've got no troubles with Graham Gano. Jamie Gillen improved last year. Okay. So I'm okay with him too. Now, the return game, again, it's up for grabs, but I don't think anybody really knows how the return game is going to shake out this year around the league. I mean, all the special teams coaches are saying we got to wait and see. So I don't know if anybody can really predict exactly who's going to be good at it and who's not. Same thing with the coverage units. You look at the coverage units, and here's what I will say, though, right? You got a guy like Miles Boykin, who comes from the Steelers.
Thanks. I said
6'4" receiver from Notre Dame. Now, he is a special teams coverage guru. That's what he does. He's really good at it. Is there room for a guy like that on the 53?
Yeah, I think you gotta have a guy like that on the 53, Paul. To be honest with you,
I think
unless Nick McLeod is that guy, unless Nick McLeod is that guy,
Nick McLeod is their best gunner, right? Nick McLeod is their best guy, right? He's their best coverage guy. I think we all agree with that. Okay, but here's the problem: are the Giants good enough, and will they be healthy enough opening day that by the time they have to set their 53? Are they going to be able to afford to carry, quote, another special teams demon besides Nick McLeod? Or are we going to wind up saying, look, you're going to have to get guys like Carter Coughlin, sticking on the back end of the depth chart, and he's got to be able to be okay. Well, I don't know the answer to that right now. Okay, I really don't.
We asked him about Neil already.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you something else too. And don't Isaiah McKenzie's here too. Remember the Buffalo Bills connection. That's another guy who has special teams experience. How is Shane and Dable going to feel about Isaiah McKenzie if he's on the fence of the 53? There's a lot of questions.
Is Gunnar healthy? Gunnar Olszewski?
Yeah, he was returning.
Gunnar Olszewski.
Olszewski, I mean.
I think he was outstanding on punt returns last year. And I would hate to see him lose his job. But what is Olszewski, right? I don't think he's accomplished enough to be one of the top 6 receivers on the team. I don't. What if you only keep 6? Can you afford to keep a guy who is an outstanding punt returner, but he doesn't return kickoffs? For example, last year when he was back there on kickoffs, they told him just fair catch the ball and let it go. They didn't want him to return the kickoffs. They said, listen, just make sure we get the ball back. Don't bother trying to return the kickoff. He is a punt returner. It's a different skill set to be a kickoff returner than
especially
is a punt
this
returner.
year with the new changes.
Of course. So what do? I think Olszewski is a very valuable punt returner. Can you keep an Olszewski on your 53? See, guys, this is why people like Dominic Hickson and Dwayne Harris are incredibly valuable.
Valuable.
Because they could give you special teams value, but also you have to be able to play your position. You know what I mean?
They play all 4 special teams positions, plus they could play receiver.
Yeah.
And we don't have a guy like that currently on the roster, I don't believe. I got a question for you.
By the way, Bryce Ford Wheaton, last year, I truly believe Bryce Ford Wheaton was going to make the 53. Okay? I do. I think he was on the 53. I think he was going to make it until he blew out his knee.
I said the same thing.
He had a good camp, and then they stuck him on special teams because they were really excited about him. They wanted to give him a chance to make it. So he started playing special teams, and he looked good at it. And I was like, oh, man, this guy's going to make the 53. And then he blew out his knee. So now he's back to try to challenge. But again, how many are you going to keep? Can he get back to that level that he was? And I think this is a deeper wide receiver room than it was last year.
Way deeper.
So just because he would have made it last year doesn't mean he's going to make it this year. But I like the kid.
I like him too. He has the size. He has the speed to play the receiver position. If he can turn it to that gunner, he will make the 53-man roster. If he can turn it to that gunner, that could be that guy that goes down there and handles his business. But I do have a question for you, and it's part of the run game. We all know, me and NYG, Unpopular Opinion Sports, we call the games every Sunday. And if you want to come in one Sunday and call a game with us, I'm going to just throw that out there for you.
I'm a little busy.
When
Lord.
we were on the field and it was 3rd and 1, and we could never pick up the 3rd and 1, do you believe that Eric Gray can be that guy?
The Giants do not have a push-the-pile running back on the roster.
Thank you.
I wanted them to draft Austin Estime out of Notre Dame.
Me too. Either him or Braylon
Allen. He went to the Jets. Okay. Yeah.
I was an Estime guy. To me, he's a push-the-pile guy. Now, this goes back to what you guys asked me at the start of the program. You know, I got to shut up here because I'm giving you guys the whole Fort Knox of information. I mean, you know, this is like unbelievable. I'm giving you all the gold.
Right.
Because you feel comfortable here.
Right.
It's home.
See, I look at this wide receiver room, and I mean the running backs room, and Singletary does run between the tackles, but he's not a push the pile guy. Gray is better off tackle. Tracy's going to be better running wide. None of those guys, none of those top three guys are push the pile guys. In the back of the depth chart, I mean, you know, whether it's Corbin or Miller, whoever else they want to throw back there, none of these guys are push the pile guys. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've got a 3rd and 2, now in all likelihood, the way the Giants are built these days, they're going to go 5 wide empty backfield. Okay.
Yes.
Which I don't think you guys need to get an X-ray of my stomach to know what that makes me feel.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
Okay, but it'll be 3rd and 2, and they don't have the guy who's going to take the ball, run it between the tackles, get contact, and literally push the pile forward and move the chains. In other words, Brandon Jacobs. Rodney Hampton could do it, and later in his career. Otis Anderson could do it. Joe Morris could do it. Okay? Barkley could do it on occasion. Certainly Ahmad Bradshaw, for even as diminutive as he was, Ahmad had incredible thigh strength, and he could push the pile an extra half a yard to get a first down. There is nobody on this team I see as a push the pile runner. And I'm not talking yards after contact. I'm talking push the pile. PTP. Right? Dick Vitale calls them primetime players. I say PTP is push the pile. They don't have one. So that means that this line, which, by the way, has an undersized center and a pass protecting right guard, has to be able to execute their blocks properly, because they're not going to be able to get the power push that's going to help these running backs get that extra half a yard. They're not going to be able to do that. So the line is now, they're required. They've got to make their blocks. They've got to make those holes. They've got to make that crease, because if they're in a stall at the line, do you remember Brandon Jacobs getting the 4th down in the Super Bowl against the Patriots?
That 4th
You remember that play? He tripped over Richie Seibert's ankle. Okay?
Right.
Tripped over his ankle, fell forward, and as hard as he could with his upper body, lunged forward and shoved that ball forward to get the first down. I don't think any of the backs on the team today can do that.
Yeah, you just confirmed our fears with the 3rd and 1 situation.
You don't
we
know
were so
how
angry
much
last year, bro.
Oh, gosh, that's
everybody on the stream was going crazy. 3rd and 1. Oh God, no! We got a punt.
How do you lose 3 yards?
Right.
You guys remember Charles Way as a running back?
Yes.
Yep.
You know, how much would you love to have him back there right now?
Man, I would just love to have the Hinoceros back. Henry Hinoceros.
Yeah, right?
I would love to have him back.
Madison Hedgecock.
Yep. Madison Hedgecock. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's funny, right? Hedgecock didn't touch the ball much. He was more of a blocker. Hynoski was more of a blocker, didn't touch the ball much. Jim Finn was blocking for Tiki Barber.
Yep.
You know, and he was an undersized fullback, but he knew how to get it up in there and lead his guy into the first down territory. Look, that's another thing, fellas. I'm a fullback guy. You know, to no one's surprise, right? I like having a
those
fullback
days
on
are
the
gone.
roster.
The William Floyds, the Lorenzo
Maurice
Neal.
Carthen. Oh, God.
Maurice Carthen was one of the best all-time prototype fullbacks I've ever seen, ever.
Yes, ever. Perfect.
Wasn't that part of Paul?
For a little while, we had Gary Brown, who was a physical guy.
Gary Brown was physical. He bullied his way to a 1,000-yard season too.
I was gonna say, didn't Carmen Basillo use fullback in Oakland?
Jakob Johnson,
right, Vegas.
Yeah, but he doesn't control the roster here.
That's true.
True.
Dang it.
So let's say for Evan Neal, he's on player unable to practice list. But there was a statement made that he's working hard to get back. Um, Now, if he gets back, well, if Illuminor plays and he plays solid by the time that Evan Neal is healthy, will they replace Illuminor if this team has chemistry and put Neal back out there, or will they let Illuminor continue to run at right tackle?
I can't get into Brian Dable's head on this, and quite honestly, he was asked that earlier today, and said, "Well, we don't know. You know, we got to see how it plays out." You know, he wasn't going to cement Evan Neal in at right tackle at all costs. And quite frankly, let me just say, what makes sense to you? If Neal can't go, and somehow this offensive line starts the season and is performing well together, as miraculous as that may be right out of the box, because again, it's been totally retooled.
Hodgepodge.
Why would you change it?
Right. Right. That's
I
what I
mean,
was getting at.
Why would you change it? I don't. So look,
Because
I
I
love
saw
when people
signs of
say,
this.
and I get it, you can't lose your job because of injury, but in today's game, where
Right.
there's no patience and there's a sense of urgency,
The JG Wentworth Society.
dude,
Right.
you got that snowball rolling downhill. Keep rolling it downhill. Don't get in the way.
Right.
I said that in my video. If Illuminor is playing good at right tackle and Evan Neal's not able to go, there's no reason to bring Evan Neal in there, even though you've invested into him. If our offensive line is playing good, you let them boys play.
Play.
Seriously, you don't bring
Now, of
nobody in
course,
there.
Mess it up.
Now, of course, that the footnote to that is Illuminor may be playing really well at right tackle, but now Stinny's got to be playing well at left guard.
Right.
Because now, if that's not working, now you still got to fix a problem. So maybe the fix is to move Illuminor back to left guard and let Neal play right tackle. You see? It's not so much about the individual, it's about the line, it's about the unit. Coach, come on, you know this.
No, you're right. I mean, if it's not working, we talked about it earlier. As far as the weakest link in those situations, you don't keep going with the offensive line if you have a weak link out there. You have to make the adjustments and you have to fix it. So if Neal comes back and Illuminor is playing well and Stinny is not, you got to move Illuminor back over there.
It's about the best combination.
Yeah,
Why do
the
you
best
guys
five.
think David Deal wound up starting at its multiple positions over the course of his Giants career? They weren't moving him game to game, but season by season, he played numerous positions because it was about what is the best combination. Right, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The best five have to be out there and play, but ultimately it is the best combination. What do I always say about the left side of that line also? That's DJ's backside. So you have to, especially when he's dropping back, I know everyone talks about the right side, the right guard, Illuminor, he should be at playing right guard, but I say you have to shore up that backside more than anything. Because DJ drops back. When he drops back, that's his blind side. That's what you have to fit. That's why Stinny is key right now, especially with Illuminor going over to the right tackle. Because if he's playing well, Stinny, then okay, fine. If he solidifies that backside for DJ, then okay, fine. Then you can go ahead with it. But if you can't, you got to move Illuminor back over there. And I know there are people that do not want to hear that, but that's the fact.
Hey,
I will say this.
Hold on one second, fellas. Hold on one second.
Do you
Hey,
look
P-Dot.
back now?
Well, let me go back to Illuminor for 1 second, because that may be the one small footnote to the point about the short yardage power run game. If Illuminor is able to be the left guard in the reconfigured line, you've got 660 plus pounds of beef
Left
with
side.
Illuminor and Thomas at left tackle and left guard. So if I'm in a third and short situation, where do you think I'm running the ball? I'm going to try, and the whole stadium can know about it. I'm hopeful
stop it.
that those two guys together, I'm hopeful that even if 80,000 people know and millions more watching the game worldwide, they all know it's going behind Thomas and Illuminor. Run that sucker right up their backs. And hopefully, okay, the other team hasn't sent that extra blitzer off the corner and it's a 3-on-2 and they're able to slice back there and give the Giants a 1-yard loss. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But, you know, that may be the only way the Giants can show any kind of muscle in a short yardage situation.
So now do we revisit that workout with Greg Van Ratten and possibly swap him out with McKeithen on the roster?
Sign him.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. This administration drafted McKeithen, again, a North Carolina kid, tremendous frame, has a perfect boxcar power frame to be a guard in this league. And I know that when they got him in the 5th round, they thought that was a really, really good value and a kid who was going to have a lot of potential.
Because him and the Zulu played on the same team.
Correct.
Carolina.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, again, kid's been beset by injuries. How long do you wait?
Yeah. That's the question.
That is so hard.
I spoke highly of McKeithen.
You guys want to laugh real quick? Remember when P-Dot said that people don't really study in the offensive line? They talk about the check downs and everything.
Yep.
Danny Slow Processor does. He said he's not a difference maker. Check down artist. He's never thrown for 7 yards per game average, even going back to Duke. He's always been the same guy. This is what we deal with, P-Dot. You literally predicted what somebody was going to say. Literally, that's what we do. I guess
you know what, fellas? You know that old saying about you put garbage in, you get garbage out.
Right.
What do the fans have to read every day?
Exactly. But that is very true with guys like a Zulu, who I do believe is going to make this team. I don't think there's no way a Zulu doesn't make this team.
Yeah.
But I do believe Lou is right about McKeithen. If we do bring in Van Rotten, who is familiar with Brasillo, and I think he will make the team if he's brought here, because they wouldn't sign him if not.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Hampered by an injury, and you do have to run with Illuminor at right tackle, and if
play together.
Use Zudu as a swing tackle, then you're gonna need that guard.
Well, you're gonna keep 9 offensive linemen, right? Plus practice squad. Now, I would say this: the one thing McKeithen has going for him, because he's young, he hasn't gotten in many games, and he's been injured a lot. You might be able to sneak him out of the practice squad.
Right.
That I agree with.
You know, you may not lose him.
Okay,
well, yeah, you can put McKeithen on the practice squad. I don't think anybody will pick him up off the practice squad. But
I got a question about Darius Slayton. Now, Pat made a video, good video. Y'all go check that out. And Slayton was on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast. And he was saying that, you know, basically he wanted the ball more. He wanted more targets. And, you know, he was, you know, kind of going through the numbers, you know, and everything like that. Now, given that and given the contract dispute he had earlier, which the Giants seemed to work out, but it seems to be starting to kind of get the feeling he may not be totally happy now in this situation. My question to you, Paul, is gut feeling, just a gut feeling. Do you believe Darius Slayton finishes this season as a New York Giant, or do you believe New York Giants look to trade him?
The only way that I think Slayton goes is if the Giant season falls apart before the trade deadline, and then potentially someone comes in and says, hey, we really want to get him for our stretch run, and the Giants decide that they want to grab a draft choice for him. I don't think they're shopping him. Joe Schoen already said that during the offseason that was never an option. They want him on this team. And Slayton himself, and I get along great with Darius. I talk to him a lot. He was very satisfied that they redid his deal with some incentives, and what he really wanted was assurances that he was still going to be a big part of the game plan. And obviously they were able to come to terms on that, and they gave him the incentives that he was looking for. He believes that that's the case. And he told me, he goes, all's good. I remember seeing them the first day he came back. He's like, hey, we're all good. So I think I don't know when that interview was taped. I don't know the context of all the quotes that were said, but I did see some of the reports off of it. And I think they were greatly exaggerating his feelings, because as far as I know, he's happy to be here. He believes when they tell him that he is going to be a significant part of the passing game, and they're happy to have him.
Let him know that the Big Blue Crew would love to have an interview with him where he won't be ambushed with any
just for to say that
sidebar questions.
I'm a big Darius Slayton fan. Probably one of the few.
Right.
My first video I ever made was about Darius Slayton and how the Giants do need Darius Slayton. So I'm glad you was able to clear that up, because we all hear rumors, but you being in the building is definitely important, man, to hear that from you.
Well, look, every general manager, if he's doing his job properly, his phone is going to be open on his desk. And if some team comes calling and makes him some offer that he can't refuse, nobody's untouchable. I mean, I guess because of contracts, yeah. Daniel Jones would be untouchable. Andrew Thomas would be untouchable. Dexter Lawrence would be untouchable. I mean, there's going to be a handful of guys. Am I telling you that Darius Slayton is untouchable? I mean, he's not Jerry Rice, okay? I'm not telling you that. But the Giants are not shopping him. And as far as I know, he is not asking or looking to be dealt.
Now, to piggyback off that real quick, let's talk about one of our young guns. I want to know, since you're in the building, you see these guys daily. What do you think about Jalen Hyatt, and what do you think his development can be? What do you see out of him as far as his development and everything?
Jalen Hyatt is another guy who works his butt off. Very eager to learn. Very, very excited to be here. Has come from a situation at Tennessee where he was very raw. He did not have the whole route tree. We know what was said about him coming out in the draft, that, because of the limited way that he was used with the Volunteers, it was going to hurt his draft stock. Hurt it enough that he dropped to the third round. The Giants were thrilled to get him. Okay. They were thrilled to get him. They thought he'd be a second round talent, and they got him in the third. What have I seen from him? I've seen a tireless worker who also spent a tremendous amount of time in the offseason at the facility working on his route running and catching the ball. He also put on a little bit of definition. My complaint coming out of school with him, and my question was, because he was so wiry, how is he going to deal with some of the physicality of the bigger, stronger DBs in the National Football League? Because even though he's got really good speed, how would he deal with guys who are going to try to beat him up? And last year as a rookie, I think he showed his rawness. He showed that he was green. It was a great learning experience for him. And now he has busted his butt, in addition to working on his body, to try to get better and show that the arrow's pointing up. I don't want to put a ceiling on him anymore. I thought when he came out of school, he was probably going to be strictly a slot receiver who may not be able to move outside, because I didn't know physically, or for that matter, if he'd be able to adapt to the pro football route tree. I thought he'd be limited. And now I'm not so sure. I don't want to put a ceiling on him. I'm very intrigued by what Jalen Hyatt might be able to do over the course of not just this year, but over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. I am very curious what his long-term upside is going to be, because I don't want to cap it as I may have once felt when he came out of school.
That's exactly the way I feel about him. I believe if he develops that core strength to where he can get off the line of scrimmage, when it comes to those press corners that are extremely physical, he can do just about anything that he wants to do to you if he has that route tree because of that speed factor. You have to worry about that speed factor. And then if you have a DB that has to line off of him, you get him a quick slant and somebody misses a tackle, it might be over. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued about this receiving core. That's why that was the question I asked you when I came on the kickoff show. We might have another three guys that we can believe in moving into the future. And that's not to say that Slayton can be pushed to the wayside, because I think Slayton, who is more developed when it comes to getting off the line of scrimmage and running those routes, he can be a deadly number 2 for us this year.
Well, really, when you consider the fact that Darius Slayton has already been around for a handful of years, you go just extend yourself another 2 or 3 years down the road. If I say to you that Neighbors Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson are your star 3 receivers all in their prime together, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
That could be really cool, right?
Yeah, you can have about 2,000-yard receivers and one around about 800-900.
You know what they're doing, right?
Yeah. So
greatest show on turf, Big Blue version.
I'm not saying that Slayton can't last a couple of more years, but obviously, his timeline is much more down the line or further advanced, and he will be out of his prime by the time those guys are fully in their prime. That's all I'm saying.
I have a question, and I'm getting away from the offense because that's where this has been about for the most part. I got to go to the real side, where real football is won and lost. The defense,
defensive side.
Talk about
with the back end, with the back end, with the fight for the number 2, but also with the new scheme, playing a lot more zone as opposed to with Wink. And shout out to Wink. There's some principles that Iville always used to cover 0, so on and so forth. But a lot more zone, which I think will benefit some of the defensive backs. I love the safety inversion where, safeties drop, cornerbacks drop back into some of the cover 2 looks on occasion. The 3 safety looks. Will this help this defense overall and make it grow even more than where it was last year, especially on the back end with the DBs and with the DBs and also the linebackers, playing into the pass cover schemes?
Coach, I think I have 2 answers for you. The first one is Isaiah Simmons. I'm sorry. Who I thought coming out of Clemson that year was the best defensive player in the draft. It hasn't proven out that way, unfortunately. But I think Isaiah Simmons is going to be the defender who benefits the most out of the new scheme. That's number 1, because he's got the ability to be a blitzer. He also has the ability to be a cover guy against those slot tight ends in particular, and can rove around the defense. I think he in a zone scheme will benefit the most of any of those guys on the back 7. But I think, to be honest, Shane Bowen, if he stays true to what he did at Tennessee by going with hardly any blitzes and relying on the 4-man front, the real impact here that I see, and you certainly are entitled to disagree. Again, I respect all coaches. I think that acquiring Brian Burns was the whole linchpin to what the Giants are going to try to do, because if you're going to predicate everything about your defense on being able to apply the necessary heat with your front 4, well, you've got to have 3 studs amongst that front 4. The 4th guy can be rather pedestrian or functional, if you will. But if you only have 2 studs amongst the front 4 and then 2 pedestrian guys, a lot of what you're trying to do breaks down, especially in a zone. So for me, I'm more curious Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau together have to be dominant and consistently dominant, because we know Dexter is. That's not a question. Dexter Lawrence is. But if Thibodeau now has a partner and you've got 3 guys in the front 4, well, guess what? I don't care if you put 6 guys in the protection scheme, okay? You can't deal with all those guys. You can't double team 3 guys, because if you do, the 4th guy has nobody to block, no one blocking him.
Right.
Okay, so right now, if I say to you, Coach, you're an offensive coordinator, right? And I'm going to give you Dexter, I'm going to give you Kayvon, I'm going to give you Brian Burns, and let's say I just put Nacho as the other guy in the 4. Okay, now what are you going to do? All right, you start with your 5, and you're going to put 2 guys on Dexter first. Right, that's the first guy you're going to block. Okay? So now you've got 3 guys in your standard formation, okay, to block Nacho, Kayvon, and Brian Burns. Good luck to you. So now what are you going to do? Now you're going to keep a tight end in. Okay. Now the tight end's going to help against Kayvon. Bless you. So if he helps against Kayvon, Brian Burns is going to still have single. If he's going to help on Burns, Kayvon's going to have a single. Good luck to you.
Say thank you.
Now, what are you going to do? So I've already forced you to take your tight end out of your passing package. Now you're going to have to keep your running back in too, because your running back's going to have to help chip one of the outside linebackers who's going to be one-on-one against one of your other guys. So now you've got 6.5 guys to block my front 4. How much easier does that make it for my back 7?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, I love that thought. I love the concept. It on the front end, it helps them in the back end in terms of coverage. Playing games and changing your coverage post snap.
There you go.
Well, now your quarterback has to hold the ball a little bit longer, which allows the pressure to get there. I'm with you there. So,
and Coach, what if I do this? What if I line it up that way and I see that you got a 6.5 or 7-man protection, right? And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I decide I'm sicking Isaiah Simmons off the edge. He's naked. He's naked. Your quarterback is a pancake.
No, I agree with you. Yes, I mean I love in studying his concepts, the stunts that he works up front. Even something as simple as sliding the line. You know, if you got a 3 tech, a DT at a 3 tech, and he crosses the guard's face going into the A gap, now that guard is going to have to come with him. Where now something as simple as that other end, Burns or Kayvon, can step up and then crash inside, get the tackle to open. Now he crashes inside because now the DT has crossed the guard's face, who's now turned away. So now there's the alley right there to attack. So and now it puts the pressure on the quarterback, and you're playing in zone. Eyes are on the quarterback. So now the quarterback is feeling the pressure, and maybe he does something foolish, trying to put the ball somewhere it doesn't belong. And now we can converge on the ball, and now we can make a play and take it to the house. So I'm with you. That's why when studying this defense, I said, I love it. I love it.
Hey, Coach, thank you for letting the people know I know a little something, because we've been talking about this the whole time. So thank you.
Yes.
Guys, isn't this better than talking about who's playing second unit middle linebacker on the first day of camp?
You're right.
Holy good God.
Yes.
We're talking real beef here, baby. This is what we do.
You're right.
Please. I love it.
Hey, listen, I just want to say that we appreciate you spending this much time with us.
Yes.
And speaking and feeling comfortable, feeling at home with us, because this has been what we created these channels for and these platforms for. And 9 times out of 10, we have to deal with a lot of people with negativity and crazy comments and trolling.
Well, my man, some of the negativity has been brought on by what's on the field too. I mean, we gotta tell the truth. It is what it is, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah. Listen, I call a spade quick. Everybody knows. Yeah, I'm a true New Yorker.
There you go.
you know, I just don't see the sense of rooting for your team to fail.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what gets
That's
me. You
That's
know,
not a real fan.
I wasn't a fan of Daniel Jones when we drafted him, but the minute he put that blue jersey on with that NY logo on it, I pull for him. I want him to do good because if he does good, the team does good. If the team does good, I'm happy because
There
I'm
you go.
I'm a fan of the team.
Right.
exactly.
Hey,
That's
fellas, you
what.
know, I was all for Eli playing another year or two. Honestly, I thought he had it in him. I really did.
Me too.
And I was not a fan of taking a quarterback that year, and I didn't think the Giants should have. And then I was like, well, if they're gonna do it, take one at 17, you know, but don't take one with that first pick. Wait till you go down. You know, use the other pick. Don't use the one that's really high. Now, having said that, and I still think that had the Giants' fate been a little better that last year, I think in fact I know they would like Eli to play another year. You know, there's nothing that says in football 101 that you have to play your rookie quarterback in his first season in the league.
Facts.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been all saying that.
If he
doesn't say that
Eli for a full season or two and learn the game, learn how to read the defenses and audible and everything, just pick Eli's brain for a year or two. When they put him on the field, he would have been elite because he has the physical tools.
Absolutely. Hey, fellas, listen. I would love to see J.J. McCarthy play opening day for Minnesota and Jaden Daniels for Washington. Let those two kids get welcome to the NFL the first 2 weeks of the season. By all means, guys, bring it on. Bring it on. Let those two young pups know what it's like to get thrown into the deep part of the pool.
All right. Here's one more question for him, man. I can't believe P Dot been on here for almost 2 hours with us.
No, man.
I got one more question.
Honorary member of the Big Blue Cruise.
Right.
Whenever
you want to
guys, you're cooking the sauce here. That's why I'm staying with you.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
You know.
Right. Let me ask you this. Our division. How do you see us going against our division this year? As you know, we've been trying to close the gap, as Joe Schoen has said the past year or so. How do you see us faring against our division this season?
I think if you strictly look at the production of what we anticipate to be the 53-man rosters, the Giants have closed the gap somewhat, but they are still number 3. Now, the question becomes not about the production, but what about the guys who are projections? That's where the Giants need to make the most advancement. If the projections wind up coming to fruition and playing like they should, if Dante Banks, coming off a rookie season, becomes absolutely outstanding in year 2, and if Cordell Flott, who I think is going to be a pretty darn good corner on the other side, if he projects and gets to that point where he's not a projection, but a production guy, all of a sudden, those are the kinds of things the Giants need if they're actually going to catch the top 2 teams in the division. That's what they need. They need projection guys to be production guys. And right now, they got a handful of projection guys that they need to take it to the next level. John Michael Schmitz is another guy. I told you that before. You know, he's got to take it to the next level. Year 1, rookie, a lot of rookie mistakes, a lot of growing pains. I get all that. Okay, year 2, he's got to be better. You know, when you draft a guy, you expect there's going to be improvement each of the first 3 years of his career. Well, all these guys who they've drafted in 22, 23, and even some of the rookies have to give them production now if they're going to challenge for first or second place in the division. Washington clearly to me is the 4th most talented team in the division. But because of the turnover of the coaching staff and everything that's gone on with that organization. And God only knows, again, Jaden Daniels, if he's the quarterback right out of the box, we know what the odds are of a rookie quarterback, winning games in this league. They're very, very long. It does not happen very, very often. So I would have to believe that no matter what Washington does to help their team, if Daniels is quarterbacking for the entire rookie season, I have to believe they're going to have trouble winning games. I just have to. That's the way the history is in this league. Mm-hmm. So I think they're number 4. But how close can the Giants get? Guys, it's gonna be up to the players in the 22, 23, and 24 draft class. Those are the guys that will determine where the Giants finish this year.
I want to ask you about one of those guys, Dane Belton. I know not a lot of people talk about Dane Belton. Given that Tyler Nubin got drafted in the second round this year, but what is your projection for Dane Belton? 2-part question. First, do you think he starts over Tyler Nubin, and do you think they employ more 3 safety looks in this new Shane Bowen defense?
Okay, so Dane Belton, every time he plays, he's around the ball and makes plays, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the question becomes for all of us, what's his projection? Is he a guy who's best served as a part-time player, or if he plays full-time, does he get exposed as someone who maybe isn't as good if he's out there for a full 75 snaps a game? We don't know that. He's a projection player. At the same time, so is Tyler Nubin, right? He's coming out of school. He's as raw as a piece of celery right now. Now, he played a lot at Minnesota, okay, so he's a very mature college draft choice. And I think he's going to challenge for that starting job, maybe even in week 1. I think he's that good. But he's still a rookie. Mm-hmm. So, to be frank with you, that's one of my favorite battles of this training camp. Belton really? Against Tyler Nubin. Who's going to start week 1? That, to me, that's one of the golden questions that I have, because I look at the 22, right? The 11 on each side of the ball. Mm-hmm. I think I have a pretty good idea of almost every spot. But who's the starting safety opposite Pinnock? Is it Belton or Nubin? And I'm almost to flipping a coin on that one right now. I think.
So you think it's close? I don't think it's that close. I think it's Nubin, but you might have. I know you have a little bit more information than what we have.
Well, here's why. You don't know how a rookie's going to react once he actually gets into the pro game.
Okay, when the lights come on.
Nubin, let's just say for argument's sake, I'm going to be hypothetical here, okay? I want to make this clear in case somebody's listening. This is hypothetical. Do not take me out of context, okay? Nubin may have a really good training camp to the point where you might want to start him week 1. What happens when he gets into the preseason games and all of a sudden at full speed with the lights on, it doesn't really click as well? So now what are you going to do? You're going to start Belton or you're going to start Nubin against Minnesota? What are you going to do?
So is it going to be another Trey Hawkins thing?
So that's what happened with Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins had a really good training camp. Last in the preseason. They gave him the starting job. And the pool was too deep, right? The pool was too deep. He was in over his head. What happened? Got to pull him out because we rushed him. We rushed him. It was too much too soon. I think Nubin is going to challenge for a starting job. I believe that. Where he ultimately lands with his snaps as a rookie, I think that's a very intriguing question.
Yeah, I think that
and in terms of 3 safeties, again, that may be one of the ways to get all 3 of them on the field.
To get them on the field, yeah.
That wouldn't shock me at all either. Because what you got to figure, what's interesting about Nubin, he's a ball hawk, but he also hits.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I predicted him in the second round. I actually have a video predicting him in the second round.
Right. So if you've got him swimming around the secondary like a shark, he's in a position to attack. He could do some things. So I think he would be very intriguing in a 3 safety set if that's the way they decide to go.
I think all three of them are ball hawks, Paul. I think Belton is a ball hawk. I think Pinnock can be a ball hawk at times. So getting all three of them on the field would be ideal, I think.
Pinnock's made some plays on the ball. Certainly the Miami interception, for 102 yards for a touchdown was one of those great plays. But I would not call Pinnock a ball hawk myself. Stevie Brown was a ball hawk. Percy Ellsworth was a ball hawk. You go back some years, okay? I don't see Pinnock as a ball hawk. He's not the kind of guy, in my opinion, who's going to ever get 6 or 7 interceptions in a season. Ball hawk's got to be able to get at least a half a dozen picks in a year. I don't think he's that guy.
I think he's that high energy guy for the defense. He's that guy that's going to float to the ball and make plays. And occasionally, if you do something stupid and throw the ball up in the air and he's in that area, he'll pull it down for you.
Well, that's fine.
He'll go up there and get it.
Fine. We're paying him to do.
But I think they drafted Newman particularly because he is a ball hawk.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I watched him in the Big Ten. Yes, he is.
Yeah,
definitely.
He was nasty out there. And I don't who do you think plays opposite of Dexter Lawrence? Between Nacho, I heard Chapman got some reps today, even though it's the first day of training camp. He's right here in Louisiana, where I'm from. I actually know his family. Who do you think steps up? Is it Riley? Is it Davidson? Is it Nacho? Is it Chapman? Is it Anderson? Who do you think steps up on that D line, man?
I joined with Sports Illustrated this year to do my own pod for New York Giants on SI. Okay. And the one that I just posted.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The one that I just posted on Monday, yesterday, as a matter of Monday, 2 days ago. I said the 4 questions, and I teased this on Twitter, the 4 questions on defense, okay, where the Giants have not solidified their answers. They don't know exactly who the second starting safety is going to be, and we just discussed that. We don't know for sure who the slot corner is going to be, right? They drafted Drew Phillips, and they're going to give him a shot to be the guy, but we're not 100% sure that he's going to be able to win it. We don't know for sure, okay, who the 3 technique is going to be next to Dexter, and there are a ton of candidates there. And we don't know 100% for sure, and as much as I believe in Cordell Flott, and I really do, we don't know 100% for sure that he's going to be that guy at left corner. Those are the 4 spots that we're not 100% sure of. The other 7 spots on defense, I love. Okay? I love the other 7 spots. There are 4 that I'm not sure who the guys are going to be. But I think this goes back to that projection word. Yep. I think they've got guys who can project into those spots.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you said that because I wanted to ask a question and nobody else got to it yet. So I'm gonna ask.
Well, let me just say this. Phillips had a pass deflected today, right, on the defensive line. He's one of the candidates who they have there. I think he's more of a nose tackle. I think Riley is more of a nose tackle. That's how I see those 2 guys. I don't think they're necessarily 3 technique guys. I have said all along that I think Ryder Anderson has the body type for it, and I think he'd be a candidate that I'm intrigued by. I also remember that Boogie Basham played 3 technique a lot at Wake Forest.
Lord.
Okay.
Hey, he made a play today, Pat. He made a play.
He did. He did. At Wake Forest, Boogie Basham was a defensive end run stopper and a 3 technique pass rusher. When the Bills drafted him, they thought he was going to be a pass rushing defensive end. Well, guess what? That's like going to the counter, ordering a hamburger, and getting a hot dog. Okay? That's not what he is. That's not what he is. So they misused him.
Yeah.
And obviously the Bills contingent here thought enough of what they saw at Wake Forest that they made the trade for him. I'm intrigued by Boogie Basham. I'd like to see him get a shot at 3 technique. I really would.
So I want to ask you, how many linebackers do you think we're running with, and which ones do you think they are?
Well, if you're going to run the 4-3, right, with Thibodeau and Burns as your bookends, and then you're going to have Dexter and a 3 technique up front, and you're primarily going to be with 4, it seems to me you're going to have Okereke with McFadden and Isaiah Simmons as your 3 linebackers.
So Darian Beavers is a backup?
Right now, Darian Beavers is a backup, and I don't know that he can work his way into the starting lineup, but I loved him when he came out of Cincinnati. I actually talked to Jesse Armstead before that draft and said, that's the guy you need to draft. And I said, I think you can get him in the 5th round. And Jesse was very much aware of who Beavers was. And he gets here, has a great rookie camp, and then blows out his knee. And last year, it was just a long way coming back on rehab, and that's why he was on practice squad for most of the season. I think Darian Beavers can absolutely play this game, and I hope that he shows enough that they can keep him, because I like that kid. I like him a lot.
Well, in speaking on the defense, because you're alluding to an odd front, but when I've ever looked on the website, it's speaking to a 3 front. And that's what's a little bit confused now. Are we multi-set more so, or is it really an odd front versus an even front?
Everything that the players and the coaches talk about is that they're looking at a 4-man front.
Okay.
That's what we're hearing. Now, again, this is the first day of camp, fellas. Let's watch the next 6 weeks, okay? Let's watch what they're doing. Let's watch the preseason games. Everybody wants to know the starting lineup against the Vikings tonight.
You know what? It's not even that. It's just that I get into the debate with people when I talk about Burns and Kayvon, when I say they're edge, but they're really classified as outside linebackers. There's a difference between a 4-3 edge or end versus an outside linebacker edge. And that is what's so confusing. And when I try to talk to people about it, they're like, no, it's almost the same. I'm like, no, it's not. They're they're too different. Even the 3, even in the odd front, the 3 or the 5 tech, or if you want to say 4 tech, however you want to classify it, they're different. I mean, the only thing that's not the same is when I was younger, you play 2 gap, where now it's more in an odd front, you're assigned to a gap. So, it's just it's a debate with a lot of fans who I try to help educate, but I'm to the point where, you know what, you know more than me. I've been coaching since 1981. So,
coach.
Yeah, so I don't know. I may not coach in the NFL, but I mean, come on, I know something. So
I got a good question.
How many people understand that a wide 9 defensive end is not an edge rusher?
Right.
He's not an edge rusher. And oh, by the way, he's also not an outside linebacker.
No,
he is a wide 9 defensive end. That's what he is.
Thank you. Exactly.
I
got a question for you guys. Azeez Ojulari.
Yep.
What do you think that his role is going to be? And just like Slayton,
I got a
think
proposal.
that he makes it through the end of the season.
I got a proposal about Azeez Ojulari. I got a package that I want to see him in. I want to see a package where on 3rd and long, Dexter's down at nose tackle, and you see Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns all standing up on the line next to Dexter.
Is that the NASCAR package?
Sort of.
The new NASCAR.
NASCAR package, right?
Okay. Now the question becomes, and again, it's just an idea because Coach, I'm like you. I look at the game with the coach's perspective. I sit around here in my office and I'm drawing up diagrams all over the place.
Yes.
You know, I got so many X's and O's here. It's like I could be a tic-tac-toe king. You know, it's ridiculous. And I play with this stuff all the time because I learned from Belichick. You know, when I came in starting to cover this game, I learned from Belichick and Parcells. So, and I've had great defensive coordinators over the years, including John Fox, you know, and Steve Spagnuolo. So I learned from these guys. So what I like to do in my own head, I like to play with a lot of formations and schemes. And it's like, I wonder what this would be like. Like I say, Ryder Anderson, Boogie Basham. I'd love to try them at 3 technique. One of the things that I'm thinking of is playing this formation. Give me Dexter Lawrence with his hand in the dirt, stand up the other 3 guys, and I'm not sure where I'm going to put the 3. Who's going to be next to Dexter? Who's going to be the guy on the left end? Who's going to be the guy on the right end? I'm not sure how I want to do it, but I'm thinking of that. And I'm like, okay. And, oh, by the way, maybe I sneak Isaiah Simmons on a 3-snap count, and now I got 1 guy down and I got 4 guys standing up, and I know that all 5 of them got the ability to get to the quarterback.
Yep.
And
I've
now
been thinking about that too.
And excuse my French, but holy freaking crap! What is the center and the quarterback going to say when they see that? Right. You know, I play with this stuff because I like to do that, and you know, sometimes some of the things that I think about wind up showing up on the field, and sometimes they don't. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how they're going to use Ojulari. Hopefully, his health is intact this season.
Yeah.
But you do some of the same things that we do. I be coming up with scenarios on the offense and the defense, and it's like, dang, they actually did it.
Listen, outside of Giants,
you know why that's good though? Here's why that's great. Because most fans, and certainly the scribes, they just want to complain about what they think is wrong. They don't offer alternatives to fix it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Preach.
Look, if you're so smart and you're covering the NFL and you're supposed to be so smart, well then offer suggestions. Okay? Come up with, don't just say so-and-so's terrible, so-and-so should be benched, these guys are no good. No.
Offer some solutions.
Offer some solutions. That's what I tell people. I say, listen, if you just want to talk to me on Big Blue Kickoff Live, call me up or hit me up on Twitter and just want me to repeat your hate, then go to the bathroom mirror and scream at that. Because the bathroom mirror will give you the hate that you want. Okay? If you come to me, I'm going to give you either a fair evaluation of what you're missing, or I'm going to give you some potential options and solutions.
I've got news for you, Mr. Dottino. You are one of us.
Yes.
He's the
and I'm telling you, outside of Giants.com, outside of what you guys do over there, nobody else is doing this. That's why you feel so comfortable here. Nobody brings you real insight, sports insight from players, coaches, analysts, guys who work for the organization. Nobody is doing this. Everybody is being biased, giving you hate, giving you negative content without giving you any solutions, any feasible options at fixing it. And I just want to thank you for spending so much time with us, giving us your insight, and feeling free to be yourself with us. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. And I'm grateful.
You're welcome, fellas.
Yeah, that's why I always say I want to find out the why. Why is this happening? Why is that going down?
Most people today don't want the why. Most people don't want the why. They just want to scream.
Of course.
That's it. They want to complain. They don't want the why. And God knows the scribes aren't going to give it to them.
Right. It's terrible. Like if you know the why, then you can start thinking of solutions. And then if you know the why, you can't come up with a solution, then maybe, this guy might just not be it. I can't
tell
help
you
him.
how many times on Big Blue Kickoff Live somebody will call, right? And they'll be furious about Daniel Jones, or they'll be furious about this or that, or whatever the case may be. And they'll be just going off. And I'll let the guy talk. All right, fine. All right. Well, now, first of all, and it's like your premise is based on an inaccuracy. Well, that's the first problem. Okay. You've already based your premise on something that's actually not true. Okay. And boy, that boggles their mind. That gets them very, very upset. And then the second thing is, okay, some of what you said, I understand. Okay, I sympathize with your feelings. Okay, you're saying it's so bad. What would you do? Before I say anything,
Exactly.
What is your option? Oh, I don't know.
You are part of the Big Blue Crew because that's what we go through. So what would you do?
Right? And then it's like, and then I tell them, okay, well, first of all, here's the inaccuracy that you based your foundation on. So here are the facts. All right. This is why this is accurate. And unfortunately, your premise was built on sand. So once we get that squared away, these are the 2 or 3 potential options that you have. Which one would you like? And they can't answer.
Man, that be getting on my nerves, bro. Like,
I mean,
you
this
want
is
me
what
to do
this
everything?
This is the way of the world today, fellas. It's the way of the world. It's just like people they need to go to their bathroom mirror and scream it out there.
But we're doing
that's
our
the only
part.
thing that's going to make them happy.
We are doing our part because look, Alex is a young gentleman from that generation, and he is here with us. He does great content as everybody here does, and we work together and we try to give people real, actual insight and real feasible options to try to fix things. And when we see the things that are error, you know, we try to come up with solutions and give people options and you know, so I'm glad what we're building here, and I'm glad that you feel comfortable here. Feel free to come back anytime,
right?
And I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this. So,
oh, fellas, here's the danger now. Now that we have gotten along so well, just be prepared for some of that toxic crap being on your Twitters.
We're used to it.
Man,
we're used to it. We're used to it.
I said that on the show yesterday. I said I don't even go to Twitter no more because they're crazy.
Oh, you know, and it's a shame because I know there's a lot of people out there who actually do want to learn and do want to be educated and do want to understand and do want to think for themselves and would like to get a better feel for the game. I'm sure that they're out there. I know they're out there. I mean, hell, I'm doing this. This is my 42nd season covering the Giants. So I know that there are people out there doing it, right?
Give this man his flowers.
Right, but they'll come on your Twitter feed
as
and
long
tell
as it's
you
not
they know
Eric.
more than you. Right.
As long as it's not Eric.
That's a good one.
Right. But you got people that come on there and try to tell you they know more than you. You've been covering. You've been in the building for over 40 years.
You know what kills me, fellas? I'll give you the thing that kills me, right? You'll get somebody who calls up and they have a whole negative premise and they're saying this, they're saying that, they're saying that, and they're saying that. And I'll say, okay, so how do you know that this, that, and the other thing are true? And he goes, well, I read it in the paper. And I'll say, okay, but you know that the newspaper writers haven't been on the property for the last 2 months? So how do you know? How do you know what Daniel Jones has looked like during the spring?
Right.
How do you know what Jalen Hyatt's been doing in the offseason? How do you know? You know, and I tell people, I say, look, I tell you what I can tell you because of my job, and there are certain things I can't say, right? I mean, well, no, I'm not. Look, fellas, I don't hide behind that. I work with the organization. I do shows for the organization. I do post game shows on MSG for the organization. So look, if I know that there's a change in the starting lineup on Saturday, I can't put that out there, right? There are certain things I can't say. But when it comes to football analysis and the facts that are on the field, that are on the tape, I'll tell you what's there. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, I defy anybody who wants to go back and listen to this show on the archive. I defy any of them to say that we did not talk about some of the warts and the negatives on this team, because we did.
Right?
We did.
We talk about the whole team.
We did.
The whole team.
But what we didn't do was throw a whole freaking carton of hand grenades onto the building. That's what we didn't do.
Yeah.
Because that's not productive.
No.
Exactly.
It doesn't help anybody.
I was like, how can you build an organization?
They don't want productive, Paul. The people in today's society, they want to be fucking angry and they want to be negative. That's what America's become. But I'm not going to get into the political aspect.
I get you. I love the game too much to be that way. That's the problem.
Right.
I love the game. I love the game. I digest the game. I chew on the game. I soak in the game. I love the game. I got no time to be angry. I love the game. I spend too much time analyzing the game than to be angry.
Well, fellas, we've been on here 2 hours and 15 minutes with the great Paul Dottino. Didn't know he was gonna hang out with us this long.
I gotta go to practice tomorrow morning. What are you guys doing?
I know. Well, I do appreciate you, man. I know you got business to handle tomorrow.
Buenasera.
Yeah. Now, welcome to the Big Blue Crew. You see the whole family here, man. You always welcome. And make sure if any players wants to do some interviews with the Big Blue Crew, you let them know that we're here for them.
Wait a minute. Look, hold on. Look. I didn't get my 11-6 one time from you.
Right.
Oh,
come on.
11-6.
Come on, Lou.
My prediction for the season is 11-6. I'm back.
Really?
Wow. That's been our prediction.
Wait a minute.
They have shirts.
Let me just say this. If you're gonna get 11-6, then every one of those projections better come through in flying colors. Otherwise, you're not touching 11-6.
Mr. Paul Dottino, I would like to gladly let you know that I also call boxing. I am 13-0 on my fight predictions. What round, who's gonna win, and how?
Yeah, that's true.
I have predicted last year's first round pick. I have predicted this past draft's first round pick, second round pick.
Nice.
Quite a few predictions here. All of us have made quite a few predictions with the Big Blue Crew Sports Network, and I'm a firm believer in speaking things into existence. And
okay.
Until we go 11-6.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but here's the problem. Unless you rhyme it like Muhammad Ali, it doesn't count.
Okay.
The New Jersey Bricks, the Giants are gonna go 11-6.
There you go, Lou. There you go.
Off the top of the dome. That's what we do here, man. But I don't know, Paul, if you ever go to the NFL drafts. We go to the NFL draft every year.
Yeah, I'm at Giants headquarters for the draft every year.
Oh, yeah, that is right.
Yeah, I've never been to the NFL's official draft location. I'm always at Giants headquarters.
We can Zoom call into you live from the draft, Green Bay, and give you the scoop because we're always front row. They don't call me Big Lou for nothing.
There you go, guys. Be well, fellas. I got to run.
All right, man. Have a good one, Paul.
All right, Paul, man. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was the great P. Dot. That's his name when he comes to the Big Blue Crew. He already got himself a nickname.
He saw Zion ass.
Right.
You'll get him.
He can't even talk. Look at him. He on mute. You're on mute,
I was on mute.
sir.
I just wanted to put a face to the name because I used to call him Lance and John and Figos all the time, and just the fact that he came on and that's respect to him. You know what I'm saying? And what's up, everybody? I know it's been a while, But yeah, when I seen him on, I just want to say what's up. But hey, that's what's up though. Hopefully everybody has a good time. FLSU, we're gonna beat you guys week 1, and that's what's up.
Goodness.
Oh,
But man, I do
love you, miss.
appreciate people that come on and they can be themselves with the Big Blue Crew. P. Dot was himself. So we got to see the real Paul Dottino tonight, man, and he enjoyed himself. Man, this was a great stream. I appreciate you guys showing up and showing out. We showed him the whole Big Blue Crew here, and he knows how we rock. Man, thank that guy for coming through and even accepting the invitation that we gave him to come on to the show. But fellas,
Paul Dottino, man.
It's been a long night. Everybody, if you missed it, you're gonna see it on the reruns. You can go check it out on me. I think NYG and Lou shared it, right? So you can go check it out on. You put it on yours too.
Yeah, I did.
So you can check it out just about on all our channels. You guys got anything to say before we get up out of here?
Only the Big Blue Crew Sports Network.
that's right.
Bring you real content. No baloney, no fake stuff, no fake news. Everything that we said and we sit here and talk about and debate with knuckleheads about, he came on here and agreed with.
That's a fact.
And
like he had some of the same views as us.
2 seasons under his belt. Sidelines, getting views and seeing plays and practices that no content creator sees.
Yep.
So at some point, you guys are gonna have to understand that we're not just a casual fan. We know what we're talking about. Coach has coached at almost every level except the NFL. I'm coaching Pop Warner. I've played. I've boxed. I don't talk about stuff that I have no information on. Only your ass does that. Nobody here comes out the side of their neck on this panel without insight or knowledge firsthand about what they speaking on.
The research has been done.
I'm pretty
on our name. You heard?
Like Big Lou in his boxing, I'm pretty good with my MMA predictions. I will say that. Not to toot my own horn, but hey, I do want to say this. I know this is an NFL stream, but Coach, I'll probably get at you at Twitter later. But I don't know. I know it's our first season in the Big Ten, but why they got to give us the hardest schedule known to mankind? I just don't understand it.
Because you're the mighty US. Because you're the mighty USC. Nah, you the USC. So you stepping up to the big boys now. You stepping up to the big boys. So
we open at LSU and we get Michigan in week 3, and then we play Nebraska and Washington and all those powerhouses.
You know what? My Scarlet Knights for the longest while since day one have always had Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State every year. Welcome to the club, brother. And you're stepping up, and now it's trust me, it's about ready to get real. So we about ready to see USC. Now look, y'all recruit.
I just hope we win 6 games.
Y'all recruit. Y'all should be all right.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all quarterback. That quarterback is nice too.
That
quarterback is
absolutely
nice.
Absolutely. Miller Moss.
I don't think it's going to be a huge drop off.
We got Zachariah Branch too to throw the ball to with Deuce Robinson, but I can talk that for days. I know you're about to.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because your defense better be on par because the Big Ten
Alexander
teams are going to come and they're going to punch you in the face.
He asked y'all if y'all had any. Damn, punch him in the face, coach. Let's go.
No, it's a football.
A cornerback. So I'm still. I don't know about a linebackers yet. I do love Bear, the transfer from Georgia.
Well, we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah. You know what? You and I, we'll talk later. We'll talk later.
Hey, but
Mitch, who we punching?
Nobody.
It's a football terminology. Punch them in the face. It means get physical in football. That's what it means.
Okay. I thought somebody said some.
But salute to Paul Dottino, man. It feels good to talk to somebody with some real insight. That's not trying to push a narrative. That's not doing this for clicks and views and different things like that, man. So. Salute, man, to Paul Dottino, man, the whole Big Blue kickoff.
Damn it, I forgot to ask him about Madeline Burke.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
There you go, boy. There you go.
And on that note, if you miss P-Dot, you know what you got to do. Welcome to the Gulag. We out.
Looks like we got another one! On the ground! This is the Gulag. In here, you fight to win back your life. Gates!